Rupp Arena. Welcome everybody to the SEC on ESPN. And right now, the escalator going up for the Wildcats tonight as they take on the Auburn Tigers. Trying to improve to 14-0 in conference play. And a look at what transpired moments ago courtside. Prior to tip-off here, the respective brain trusts, John Calipari and Bruce Pearl, a couple of guys who are very familiar with each other going back to their days when they coached against each other in the state of Tennessee with different schools. Let's go courtside to Kaylee Hartung.
Well, Coach, it's rivalry week on ESPN, and while Auburn and Kentucky may not be your traditional rivalry, you and Coach Calipari knew one in your days at Tennessee and Memphis. How does it feel to meet in a new setting?
It's an honor, really, to be here today with my Auburn basketball team, thinking that we can be part of a rivalry. It's where I'm trying to take this basketball program.
You said this week it would take an extraordinarily superhuman effort for your team to beat Kentucky. How do you explain that dose of reality you gave your guys?
I want to be honest with my players. I want them to know that there's not a team in our league that we can't beat. Kentucky's going to take an extra special effort. We hope to give it tonight.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach Pearl perhaps trying to take the pressure off his team a little bit. There's a look at the respective starting lineups. Ross, Miller, and Mason in the backcourt. Harrell, the leading three-point shooter in the conference. Granger and Bowers up front for the Tigers. The Harrison twins in the backcourt, along with Trey Lyles, Anthony Towns, and Cauley Stein for the Wildcats. Coach Calipari, his sixth season on the sidelines, looking for his 100th victory here at Rupp Arena. He's 45-3 in conference play. And really getting his team to play. We talked about it in the open, Sean. A great measure of consistency, a great measure of buy-in. When you look at the national narrative, it really should be one of how hard this team plays, and their chemistry really has been galvanized by a sense of us against the world in many ways as well.
Well, the idea of playing with and for each other, and the great teams, they do that. I mean, you're in the NBA all the time. You see it with the San Antonio Spurs. We've seen it this year emerge with the Atlanta Hawks. They're playing team concept basketball, and Kentucky has done that all season long.
Trey Lyles trying to post up Mason on the game's first set. Calipari drew it up. Lyles couldn't finish. Towns with the offensive rebound putback. They do that better than any team in the country.
So get on the offensive glass, be aggressive, and finish utilizing your length underneath. Auburn's the worst rebounding team in all of the SEC, and a big reason for that is they're also the smallest team in the SEC.
Many teams have Kentucky's length, especially up front. 13 on the shot clock. Ross Miller on top. Harrell is 6 on the shot clock. Well, Anthony Towns guarding him, and he fires off the mark.
And that's just the versatility we're going to see out of Kentucky at the defensive end of the floor for both their bigs.
Harrison left it short. That was Andrew Harrison. Calipari has told both his guards, both the Harrison twins in particular, hey, I want you aggressive. I want you going to the bucket and attacking. That time, it was the Tigers attacking and getting to the free throw line.
Well, and Auburn does it about as well as anybody in the SEC. You look at per game, they actually ranked second in free throw attempts and made. However, overall in total numbers, they played one more game than Georgia. So they're ranked number 1. Where they're deficient is their efficiency there. 67%. You get that number up to about 72. All of a sudden, Auburn would have a couple more victories this season as you see Simeon Bowers miss the first.
Bowers just a 50% free throw shooter on the season, a JUCO All-American last year at Chipola Junior College. Initially committed to Florida State. Circumstances dictating afterwards that changed his mind and ended up with Auburn. He goes 0 for 2 from the free throw line, and here's Cauley Stein. Shoots over the shoulder defender Bowers and knocks it down.
And that's that mid-range game that we were talking about. Turn, face, size up your defender, and just elevate up over the top. I like the approach I'm seeing out of Kentucky right now. They are really creating tempo. They are pushing the ball up the floor, and they are not allowing Auburn to feel comfortable at all in the early stages of this game, which is important. You're coming out to set the tone of how this game is going to get played.
Kentucky has had some games this year, most notably against Kansas and UCLA, where they have come out and really been aggressive early and gotten the game over in a blink.
Well, I think that's been a big point of emphasis over the last couple days since Tennessee, too, is coming out and being aggressive.
Aaron Harrison knocks down the mid-range jumper. He had only a bucket, 2 points in their win last game against Tennessee a couple of nights ago. And Kentucky out to a 6-0 lead. Bruce Pearl says that they want to score early or score late in the shot clock. Exactly what does he mean in layman's terms there?
Well, first, right now, they just like to score.
Yeah.
All right, but what he's trying to say is if you get the ball off the glass, a rebound, a turnover opportunity, look to attack them and get his basket before the defense is actually settled. If not, then let's force them to defend. Let's shift them side to side. Try to create mismatch by setting on-ball screens and see if we can open up a lane for our guards to penetrate.
Antoine Mason had it blocked by Karl Anthony Towns. And back comes Andrew Harrison. Great ball movement, a wide open 3 for Harrison, and he knocks it down. Drew Harrison averaging a little over 8 points per game.
Well, everything's going Kentucky's way right now. This is as strong as they've looked.
And another block by Towns, throws it away though. Mason with the layup, and that's going to be goaltending. Goaltending call against Trey Lyles.
Well, I tell you what, if you're going to drive, you've got to get in the body of the shot blocker. You can't try to loft it up over the top. Not with the length of Kentucky. They're going to clean that up.
A little full court pressure here by the Tigers. Andrew Harrison bringing it up court. Harrison is often the subject of a lot of criticism here around Lexington. The scrutiny unbelievable for this team. Here he is out top. 15 on the shot clock, and now a ball screen from Towns. Harrison put Ross Miller on skates. Wow, he spun him around. He's got 5
really good-looking points. I mean, the total line, knockdown, three-pointer, come back in, break down your defensive player, elevate up over the top. Kentucky is shooting the ball so well.
Bowers on the drive, tough move, left it short. He has a tendency, Sean, to struggle against length sometimes, so formidable task today for Bowers against those Kentucky bigs. Here's Cauley Stein out to Harrison.
I think he's going to really struggle to score when he has the ball in a post-up situation or even catching it right off the paint. But where he can dominate, and Simeon Bowers has got to be active, is getting on the offensive glass and trying to get putbacks.
Towns on the post-up. The jump hook is good. Money. Karl Anthony Towns, the reigning SEC Freshman of the Week, makes it 13-2. Auburn calls timeout. Tigers trying to absorb an early hit here at Kentucky.
Kentucky up by 11, everything flowing, so much so, you know, this media timeout as soon as it gets under 16 minutes. At 16:02 left to go on the clock, Bruce Pearl had said he'd seen enough. He needed to refocus his guys because right now Kentucky 6 of 8 shooting from the field so far in the game.
Made their only 3-point attempt as well. Auburn, meanwhile, 1 of 5 from the field. Malcolm Canada subbing into the ball game during that last break. Let's see if they run coming out of the timeout. Mason, guarded by Aaron Harrison. Ross Miller out top. Antoine Mason on the drive. Bowers kicks it back out. 1 on the shot clock, and they won't get a shot off coming out of a timeout. That's their second turnover of the ball game. A daunting task ahead for Bruce Pearl and Auburn tonight from Rupp Arena. There, raised $1.6 million for pediatric cancer research.
I was trying to show off my dance moves earlier. I mean, I really like music when they're being played here in the arena. A lot of great music being played here this afternoon.
I'll tell you what, sometimes like Kentucky's doing right now, you just got to shake what your mama gave you.
Well, and
they're doing it right now.
If you're Auburn, you want to shake it off like Taylor Swift.
Mike, are they listening to, what do we think? XM Sirius 56 or 45? If Mark Jones is in control, it's 45.
If Sean's in control, where is it at, Caleb?
It's 56, the highway.
There you go. We'll be in Nashville in a couple weeks for the tournament.
Here's Harrison up court. Nice feed inside. Lyles fouled and one. Little sweet music coming out of the break.
Just a great job setting a screen to clear out. You just roll up over the top, and that's just really understanding timing is so important on that. Is if you roll off too early, it allows your defender to close that gap and not allow that space and make that pass available. Great execution by Kentucky so far.
Trey Lyles, a 66% free throw shooter. All 5 Kentucky starters have now scored in the ball game. Lyles had 10 points and 5 rebounds in their last game.
They're playing so well defensively right now. I mean, yeah, we can be enamored by offensively what they've been able to do, but Auburn calls a timeout, comes out, and gets a shot clock violation.
Bowers on the baseline, a little bit strong. One and done at the offensive end for the Tigers.
Let's also point out that the 2 points were on a goaltend.
Harrison misfiring from downtown.
They have yet to see the ball go through the basket in this game.
Mason. A very tumultuous week for Antoine Mason. His father, longtime NBA great Anthony Mason, battling for his life last week, suffering a massive heart attack, and glad to report that he's feeling much better, and want to personally send out thoughts and prayers to Big Mace. Here's Harrison out top. Lyles, they posted up to Towns. Gets it back out to a wide open Harrison for 3. Rims out, and Mason with a rebound for Auburn.
And see, the problem is, Bruce Pearl, what do you say? You want to score early or you want to score late? They're not getting any opportunities to get any early looks in transition.
A couple of subs coming into the ball game for both teams as we go courtside to Kaylee.
Well, Mark, we just passed that first media timeout just after the 16-minute mark. That's usually when you see the first round of subs coming in, that second platoon. But Coach Calipari's message to his team the past couple of games and in that last timeout has been, hey, you guys defend, I'll keep you in. So that's what he's done with the starting 5.
Yeah, limiting Auburn to just 2 points so far. And they have still yet to see the ball actually go through the hoop. Well, defensively, Kentucky putting up historic numbers, limiting opponents to just under 34% shooting from the field. First in defensive efficiency as well, not shown there on that graphic, and second nationally in points per game.
Well, you're talking about efficiency differential. They're plus 33.9. That's taking the offensive efficiency versus your defensive efficiency. 33.9, best in the nation. 7 out of the last 9 national champions have led that category.
Looking for their 27th consecutive win here, off to the school's best ever start. And Dakari Johnson, that's what Coach wants to see. He wants to see him go quick with it.
Go quick, but it starts with doing your work early and being aggressive. And if we can go back and show that post position for Dakari Johnson, you can't allow Dakari Johnson to take up this kind of real estate. Look where he is. He's below the level of the block. He knows exactly where he's going to turn, and he goes right up for the shot to finish it. A beautiful job and a poor job of recognizing defensively, because actually Dakari being that low, if you play that left shoulder, he spins the other way. He's going to be behind the backboard.
Former high school teammate of Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. 18-2 start for Kentucky. Coming off an impressive win against Tennessee on the road several nights ago. Auburn, meanwhile, coming off a loss at home against Alabama in their last run. And Harrison with a nice steal. Booker gets on the court. And that's going to be a jump ball situation. Mason and Booker tied up. And the possession arrow in favor of the Auburn Tigers.
Folks, we're 7 minutes into this game. Auburn has yet to see the ball go through the basket. The last time an Auburn player saw the ball go through the basket was in warm-ups.
Look at the games coming up today. UCLA taking on number 7 Arizona, Gonzaga and St. Mary's at 10 o'clock Eastern time.
Whereas Kyle Wilcher, a former Kentucky Wildcat, he dropped 52 earlier this week.
Yeah, he could have put up a nickel.
All right,
then some.
You think about his impact that he's had for Gonzaga and what he's meant transferring there, and then you think about this team and how much talent is on this roster and the success that Kentucky's had this year.
Yeah, Wilcher had a tough time getting consistent tick or run here at Kentucky. So 13 minutes to go in the first half.
Important for Mark Few's team, though. And Mark Few's team has a lot of shooters, a lot of scorers on the outside, senior guards. It's going to be interesting to see how they step up in the NCAA tournament.
Johnson back out to Ulis. 10 on the shot clock. Auburn downing the screen on the pick and roll, and Ulis trying to make lemons out of lemonade, or lemonade out of lemons. Dakari Johnson did. We're drinking the right stuff right now. 4 points now for Johnson.
Well, Reed just not strong enough right now to box out Dakari Johnson.
Canada inside, rebounded by Lee. Booker for three, got it! Devin Booker. Mason with a quick get back, won't get it. And Dakari Johnson clears. Wildcats up by 21.
Well, everything's flowing right now for Kentucky. The #1 team in the nation, the pursuit for perfection, whatever you want to talk about when you talk about Kentucky. Right now, everything's flowing. They're hitting transition threes. They're getting every shot that they want in their half-court set.
Booker missed everything on that three-point attempt. That's a rarity. Here's Canada back the other way for the Tigers. The blow-by on Ulis, blocked by Lee, but that's going to be a foul on the play. We got a time under the floor. Paulie Stein getting a breather. When we come back on the other side, we examine the Farman foul. Kentucky Wildcats off to a great start, shooting 63% from the field, leading by 21. Mark Jones courtside along with Sean Farnham. John Calipari recruited Willie Cauley-Stein as a wide receiver, saw him play high school football. Things have worked out pretty good on the other side, on the basketball court, too.
Well, as we take a look at the Farnham file this week, it's worked out pretty well, but there's been some criticism. He says, feels like his whole criticism, I'm soft or something like that. I'm just going to go start dunking on people. I don't see how you can call me soft if I'm just dunking on people. Now, this was a little while ago, so he's played a couple of games since then. What does it look like since that point in time? Looks a lot like this. I mean, he has just been dominating, getting after the rim. And when I spoke with him earlier today at shoot-around, he said, look, it's about a mindset. I've just got to start being more aggressive down the stretch here in my days at Kentucky as we make this push and this run. And he has been ultra-aggressive game in and game out, setting the tone and the demeanor at the offensive end of the floor with those dunks. But also I would say this, and you see the Wooden Award late season top 20. His ability to defend, I mean, they put him on KT Harrell. They'll put him on any player out on the floor. He's so versatile. It makes him so special and unique as a basketball player.
And Kaylee Hartung has more. Kaylee?
Well, Mark, you guys will remember the dunk show Willie Cauley-Stein put on at LSU a week and a half ago. In attendance at that game, his old teammate Anthony Davis, now, of course, with the Pelicans, made the short drive over to Baton Rouge from New Orleans. And Anthony Davis basically talked to him about the mental preparation necessary to be great. He told Willie Cauley-Stein, go out and prepare to be great. It all starts in your workouts, it starts in your practices, and when you get in the game, just play instinctively and confident. If you're Willie Cauley-Stein, I think Anthony Davis is a guy you're going to take advice from.
Yeah, his words carry a lot of weight, and you think about Anthony Davis here at Kentucky. He was the 4th leading scorer on that team, so look where he is now, a guy that general managers in the NBA feel they would pick first if you're starting a franchise tomorrow.
And don't think that stat that you just said hasn't carried over to this group, this team. The unselfishness that we've seen out of this group all season long, sacrificing individual numbers and to a certain extent individual accolades and awards throughout the course of the season.
There's Booker off the curl, drew a little bit of contact and gets the call from TJ Lang. Looks like it happened on the shot. He's going to go to the free throw line. Well, Big Monday presented by Verizon at 7. Louisville taking on Georgia Tech. Then at 9, head to the Big 12. Number 8, Kansas taking on Kansas State. It's all part of a bracket builder week presented by Dish. And that Kansas State game was memorable. And for a lot of reasons, our Holly Rowe, our intrepid sideline reporter, getting up on the scores table to get the post-game interview.
Holly's always going to find a way to get the interview. Even if they're rushing the court, she did a great job with Jawan Staten.
Yeah.
Just last week.
She got a little security out there, I think. I hope. Here's Canada. Bruce Pearl, speaking of Oscars. The old Oscar-winning movie Jaws. Bruce Pearl had the look of Roy Scheider, the sheriff, when they saw the shark and came back and said, we need a bigger boat. That's the look that Bruce Pearl has on his face right now, down 25-4. There's another empty possession.
They're just not executing, and you know this is a byproduct of what Bruce Pearl told Kaylee Hartung right before the start of tip. He said, I'm going to be honest with my team, and he was very honest and open this week. saying, I don't want my players to feel like I won't tell them what I really think. To beat Kentucky, we'd have to have an extraordinary, superhuman type effort. There's not a lot of margin of error, and that margin for error has been erased early in this game. I mean, this is a thumping.
27-4, Dakari Johnson with the bucket. He's got 6 quick ones. We approach the midway point here of the first half. It has been all Kentucky since the opening tip. Canada calls out the set.
Those 2 free throws Canada knocked down the first time Tigers have seen the ball go through the basket.
Burrell misfiring on the 3-point attempt. He leads the conference in threes attempted and made. And he fouls Harrison at the other end, so Andrew Harrison will go to the free throw line.
And Coach Calipari stands up immediately and starts clapping, because that's what Andrew Harrison needs to do more of. He needs to just be aggressive and keep attacking. And Coach Calipari told us today at shoot-around, he said, listen, I don't even care if he turns the ball over. I just want him to be aggressive. I want him to attack. I want him to play with that freedom of knowing that I'm comfortable with him even making mistakes in those moments.
His scoring is down a little bit from last year. Last year he averaged on about 11 points a game, down to 8.4 this season. But a lot of that due to the fact that his minutes aren't what they were last year because of the platoon system that they use. Makes the second free throw.
Well, that and some inconsistencies. I mean, you know, the last 7 games, 15-5, 23-1, 13-9, 14. That's the points going up and down for him over the last couple of games. But I think Andrew Harrison, when he keeps it simple and he's aggressive, and I was here for the Georgia game, and that was an outstanding effort for him. 23 points, 7 assists, and only 1 turnover in that contest. When he keeps it simple and is aggressive and looking to attack, he's a special player.
Folks, you can't overstate how difficult it is to get players sometimes as a coach to buy into sacrifice. That's what a lot of these players at Kentucky have done. 8 healthy McDonald's All-Americans. Bowers missing the mark. And here comes Ulis. Booker, that's where his game has gotten better. And put it on the deck. And Dakari Johnson really active in the early going here. He's got 8.
Well, and he got that ball in his hands and immediately went right up to the rim.
Ball out of bounds. It'll stay Auburn basketball. Sometimes
as a big, you want to bring the ball down. You want to dribble the ball. Dakari Johnson didn't do it. He kept it high.
Paulie Stein coming back to the ball game for Marcus Lee. Towns also coming back. He comes in for Johnson. That's a nice hand. He's been in a slump for a long part of the year. That stretch of minutes certainly will bolster his confidence.
And yet, if you look at what his 40 minutes per game average would be, it'd be 16 and 12 with 2 block shots.
A slump.
That's what we call a slump.
And for the first time tonight, on a field goal attempt, the ball actually went through the hoop for the Tigers. Ranger with that last bucket. Inside, Towns. Boy, I think I heard somebody say weight room. That was a big-time move by Karl Anthony Towns.
Well, they've run that play a couple of times now, and they've done it in a variety of ways. They've popped off of it, they've curled off of it, they've had the guy underneath just slide on over.
A nice dime underneath, and Lang blew the layup. It's been that kind of start for the Tigers. It's a great feed by Ross Miller. Paulie Stein kicks it back out to Harrison. Towns with the rebound. Tell you what, sometimes that has been Kentucky's best play this year is the missed shot, because they are a relentless offensive rebounding team as Lyles comes in for Ulis.
Well, they rebound almost 42% of their misses on the season, and that's 3rd best in the NCAA.
Booker to inbound. Knocked out of bounds. That's going to be Auburn basketball. Off of Towns.
Coach Calipari getting on Karl Anthony Towns right now, saying you got to seal and you got to make sure that you hold that seal to be able to get that ball.
Ross Miller with the pull-up, and he knocks it down. The second field goal for Auburn. Under 8 minutes to go. Kentucky leading 42-6. Harrison with the spin move. It's 2-on-1 for the Tigers. And Mason with the finish and one. So Antoine Mason will get a chance to go to the line and complete the three-point play. Playing with a heavy heart. Thinking about his dad back home in a hospital bed in New York. Back with more on the other side of this. All right, guys, let's take a look at Joe Lunardi's bracketology here. He's got his last 4 byes and his last 4 in. LSU with a win today.
LSU was huge today. Jarrell Martin, 28-13. We'll talk more about him in a second. But this team right here, UCLA. Here's the big concern you have for UCLA. They just lost at Arizona State. Now they're going in to play the Wildcats of Arizona. They are 2-7 on the road this year. And what is one of the criteria the NCAA selection committee often looks at? How did you perform away from your building? They have not performed well.
UCLA commit Prince Ali from Sagemont School in Weston, Florida, with a big play last night, leading his school to the state finals. Will be a great addition to Steve Alford's team next year.
Talking about big plays, Jarrell Martin, though, today, 28-13, but you put all that aside.
Trey Lyles with the dunk. Jarrell Martin with that East Bay funk dunk through the legs.
In a tie basketball game, he went between his legs and dunked it. I mean, it was like a dunk contest for himself.
It takes a different kind of courage to do that.
On Twitter, it said very few players can do that, and even fewer of those players actually have enough courage to do that. I read that on the Twitter account. I'm stealing that from somebody else, so I'll give them credit. I don't remember who I read that from.
Bowers off the mark, and Kentucky looking for the run out. 0 for 4. Harrison with a sweet move. Aaron Harrison.
We got to stop the ball in transition. Auburn right now, the thing that if I'm Bruce Pearl, I'm talking about with my team is erase the scoreboard. You can't focus on what's going on the scoreboard for obvious reasons right now. But are you going to compete? And where do you show the level of competition? Is it the offensive end or the defensive end?
Willie Cauley-Stein talking a little defense there. Punches this one.
4th block of the game for Kentucky. First for Willie Cauley-Stein. But again, you see Kentucky, they've got the lead. They're competing their tails off at the defensive end of the floor. Auburn is not competing. They're not stopping the ball in transition. Those are things that you just have to give your best effort. And right now, I don't feel like Auburn is.
Boy, Antoine Mason with a 3-ball. He was the 2nd leading scorer in the nation last year at Niagara University. 5th-year graduate transfer. There's a foul there as Towns went to the bucket. Well, Journey to the Tourney presented by Sonic. Tonight, Norman Powell and Bryce Alford face UCLA in need of a resume-boosting win. We were talking about them just a moment ago against Woodland Award nominee and super freshman Stanley Johnson in Arizona. UCLA squares off against number 7 Arizona tonight at 9 on ESPN, the home court of college hoops.
And Kevon Looney, though, a very talented freshman for UCLA. He's got 13 double-doubles on the season. And he is starting to play better down the stretch, and that's really helped take off some of that pressure on those perimeter players for UCLA. But a tough task ahead because Arizona plays such a high level of defense, and then they've got a great orchestrator of the offense when you think about T.J. McConnell.
Baseline jumper by Bowers, who continues to struggle. A quick leak out by Harrison for the layup at the other end.
But it's great floor spacing. It's immediately having your head up, looking to make the unselfish pass.
This defense has been impenetrable tonight by Kentucky. One and done again for Auburn at the offensive end. Harrison in attack mode. Brother had his back on the rebound. This is Aaron Harrison. Posted up to Towns. 3-ball. And rebounded by Bowers. And it's interesting to hear Calipari talk about his philosophy with respect to the 3. He says he doesn't want to get to the point where his team is so reliant on it that if they go, 4 for 25, that they lose the game.
Well, I think that goes back to wanting to get the ball down low. And even against Tennessee, they struggled a little bit in their shot selection. When Kentucky's at its best, it's rebounding the basketball and quickly getting the ball up the floor. And look at the great touch pass by Andrew Harrison out to his brother, and a good finish, shielding with his body, finishing with the left.
Andrew, the preseason SEC Player of the Year. Ross Miller now at the foul line for Auburn.
Now, remember, Casey Ross Miller originally was going to come to Kentucky. He was recruited by Billy Gillespie. And ended up transferring, going to New Mexico State University. Became transfer eligible this year as a redshirt senior, and Bruce Pearl needed some experienced players to join his roster.
Now Ross Miller working on his master's degree in adult education. And that fifth-year senior transfer has become a nice little niche market for a lot of coaches around the country.
Well, it's not something you can probably do on a consistent basis, especially in a conference like the SEC. But Bruce Pearl needed numbers. And he had to go out and get a couple of guys that could come in and score the basketball and had experience of actually playing Division I basketball. And he found a couple that have worked out pretty well for him in this first season.
Trey Lyles with a nice showing goal.
The good thing for Bruce Pearl moving forward is they've got some high-level recruits coming in next year. They've got a top 40 recruiting class, according to ESPN.com, which is going to help incrementally improve where Auburn's at now. Of course, Kentucky #1 on that list. Texas A&M #3. The SEC's recruited extremely well headed into next season.
And Chuck Person on Bruce Pearl's staff doing some great recruiting along with him. And they have the top wing player in the state of Alabama committed for next year. Bruce Pearl putting together a pretty good staff. Talk about the likes of Coach Jones and Chuck Person, former NBA veteran, former player and coach. Brings a different kind of perspective and prism to the court collegiately. Here's Aaron Harrison from downtown, and rebounded by Mason. Antoine Mason on the drive, draws the foul. Talking about the recruiting efforts of Auburn a few moments ago, and Kentucky, the #1 recruiting class so far in the ESPN 100.
Well, you see the numbers. Look how many teams are in the top 25. And I think that's the future is so bright basketball-wise. Texas A&M doing an outstanding job getting back into Dallas. Of course, Ben Simmons, the #1 player overall, going to LSU. When you think about that roster, Mickey and Martin, one of them comes back, two of them come back. Just how dangerous LSU can be next year.
A lot of talent on that team. Sometimes, really, I'm not saying that LSU, as Mason makes the second foul shot, has the degree or the depth of talent that Kentucky does, but it really underscores the fact that talent takes a lot to put it together sometimes.
Well, some inexcusable losses really for LSU when you think about they're the only team that Missouri has beaten this year.
Time out on the floor with just under 4 minutes to go here in the first half. It's been all blue here in Kentucky. All right, thanks a lot, Reese. Back here, 42-16. Dakari Johnson back in the ball game. A very propitious and favorable first rotation for him. With 8 quick points, they fumbled the inbound pass, though.
Well, think about this.
The Tigers.
You look at the numbers right now. Auburn's shooting 23% from the field. Kentucky's already held 11 opponents to under 30% on the season. In the last 15 years, no other team has done that more than 9 times in a single season.
The way this thing is going, it's going to be another one right here tonight under 33% or 30% as Mason knocks down his second three-pointer. Mason with 12 out of their 19 points. Lyles missing. Here's Booker. And Booker gets it to go.
6 offensive rebounds, 8 second chance points right now for Kentucky. They're dominating the paint, 22-6 advantage there.
Under 3 minutes to go. Had a chance to talk with Sonny Smith, former Auburn head coach back in the late 80s. And Mason feeling good about things right now. And well, a little bit of a heat check, but why not? He's got 15.
He's got 15 in the first half, and he single-handedly has given them life. And this is the reason why he transferred. This is the reason why you wanted to play in these type of games. You know, last year, he was the top returning scorer in college basketball. He averaged almost 26 points per game. at Niagara. And you mentioned everything, obviously, that he's gone through, and the numbers have improved so dramatically over the last 5 games. How about this? Last year, he had 12 games over 30, 12 games over 20, so 24 games over 20 points. He has 3 out of the last 5 after not having any to start the season.
Where's his dad's number 14? As Harrison knocks down the first free throw. Tell you what, you know, Pops was a big-time competitor. And he got a lot of that in him, too. Harrison, great hustle to get his own rebound. Here's Aaron with the 3.
I wouldn't leave him open from that spot. I saw that spot 3 times in the NCAA tournament last year.
3 game-winning three-pointers in the tournament. What a run he had last year. 26-point lead. Canada with the miss. Harrison Lee couldn't find the handle, but had himself a layup. Well, this SportsCenter special features intimate conversation between living legends and modern-day trailblazers on challenges overcome and challenges still ahead. African-American trailblazers past, present, and future is presented by Verizon Wireless, Sunday at 7 on ESPN. Burrell with the pull-up. Got it.
And Kentucky's starting to find themselves, Auburn, starting to find themselves a little bit better rhythm offensively.
It was Harrell's first bucket. That was a lob to Lee. Great time.
Well, Auburn's starting to find itself a little bit offensively. Kentucky's never lost itself. Look at those numbers for Andrew Harrison. 5 assists, 7 points, and really should have had an assist on that last possession as well, as he threw a beautiful pass to Lee as he dropped it.
Kentucky's already put a $50 up against Auburn. Canada working against Dakari Johnson, a mismatch. And the big fella, Trayvon Reed, with the follow flush.
And that'll frustrate Coach Calipari, because when the shot blockers go over, it vacates the weak side and it allows that post player or that wing player to attack to get second chance opportunities. They were minus 12 in second chance opportunities against Tennessee.
25 seconds to go. Paulie Stein got up immediately off the bench after that blown assignment. Harrison probing, nice feed to Lee. And Lee punches it home. He's got 4. Shot clock is off, and Auburn will turn it over. So Kentucky will get a chance to run it down.
What a first half in execution by the nation's #1 team, and the fans here at Rupp are getting to their feet. The effort at both ends of the floor.
Lang comes into the ball game for Harrell. Harrell, their leading scorer, at about 18 points a game, with only 2 points here in the first half. Speaks to the defensive effort by Kentucky tonight. Harrison out top. Andrew Harrison. Lee, Johnson, Booker, and the other Harrison twin. And that's going to be an offensive foul against the Wildcats. It's an illegal screen. That screen was set by Devin Booker, his first.
And really not necessary in that moment for where Andrew Harrison was going to extend out and push that little extra bit. Didn't need it.
You know, you watch John Calipari on the sidelines. He is literally coaching every possession. In stark contrast to what some of his former players told me last year, and some present ones, that he's quote unquote chilled out a little bit this year. And Kentucky just got a bench warning. Further evidence. Mason on the drive. Couldn't get it over Johnson. And that's going to be a great way to punctuate the end of the first half if you're a Kentucky booster. That's the second highest first half point output for Kentucky this season. They had 55 against UT Arlington. Today, 52 against Auburn.
Coach Calipari upset still about the bench warning.
Let's go to Kaylee.
Coach, what has you so frustrated after that bench warning?
I didn't hear one word you just said.
what has you so frustrated after that bench warning?
I'm not frustrated. What I want from my team is on every possession we're playing. At the end of the half, we get an offensive push-off, and it was for no reason. The guy just puts his 2 arms up under the guy's neck. If that's how you want to play, come over and sit down. Let whoever wants to play, play. I really am pleased with our defense. I'm pleased how we're sharing the ball. I'm pleased how Andrew is attacking. But it's not the score that I'm worried about. It's how we play.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks.
His team with a 26-point lead at the break. Time for the Mazda halftime report with Jay Williams, Seth Greenberg, and Reese Davis. Kentucky playing like a boss, Reese. ESPN from Rupp Arena. Kentucky looking for its 27th consecutive win to start the season, their best start ever. They lead by 26 as we get ready for the start of the second half. Mark Jones courtside along with Sean Farland, Kaylee Hartung joining us in just a bit. I know the Oscars are coming up tomorrow night on ABC, so I'm going to say that our guy Andrew Harrison has been dropping dimes like a bank teller. He has been the role of a bank.
He has been outstanding in the first half. Let's just go through it. And if we were going to give out awards based on the first half performances, best director, 6 assists, 0 turnovers for Andrew Harrison. Best screenplay. Well, it's Karl Anthony Towns. He set the screen twice, and Trey Lyles was able to score off of it. Best location shoot. I think fans of Kentucky, they understand what that is all about. And then Dakari Johnson, his efficiency, 4 for 4 from the field, 8 points, 4 rebounds, and best original score. Well, it's Andrew Harrison. He's got 7 points to go along with those 6 assists. He's had such an outstanding first half. You look for him to try to continue to be aggressive, kind of continue to focus on what they need to do and not necessarily the scoreboard or what else is going on.
Something that Coach Calipari has been insistent about throughout the course of the year. Tyler Eulis getting to start here in the second half.
On the plus side for Auburn, Antoine Mason.
They come out in the trap and they get the turnover. Mason, talked about him being a bright light in an otherwise dark first half of the Tigers. Another bucket for him.
He's got 17.
There's Booker. Markin Bowers. Simeon Bowers. Strong move to the bucket.
Well, remember we talked about scoring earlier, scoring late. Back-to-back possessions, they were able to score and get out on the open floor. Simeon Bowers had 0 points in the first half. He's got a quick 2, and Coach Cal's got a quick timeout, and a lot of subs coming in.
Kentucky called a quick timeout after 4 quick points by Auburn. Kaylee, what's up?
Well, Mark, more straight talk from Bruce Pearl as he told me he didn't see his team compete in the first half, particularly when it came to their defensive play. He said Kentucky got everything they wanted offensively. He wants to see more fight from his team. Now, we saw Kentucky get off to a 30-4 start, but in the last 9-17 of this game, Auburn played them even, 22-22. Pearl attributed that to Antoine Mason getting a hot hand.
He's been a great weapon for them offensively.
And as I mentioned going to break, mass substitutions, the new platoon is in. And that comes down to energy across the board and focus coming out of the half.
Eulis had the turnover at midcourt. Is it fair that the whole platoon suffers for the sins of maybe 1 or even 2 guys?
Well, it comes down to just body language and the way that they were executing. And I don't think Coach Calipari liked that first shot attempt from Devin Booker on the outside in transition coming out of the break.
That's going to be foul against Mason. On the court right now for Kentucky, it's the Harrison twins. Cauley Stein, Lyles, and Towns. There's Cauley Stein.
Well, Auburn has come out, as Kelly mentioned, about effort early in the game.
An offensive foul against Towns.
Well, Kelly mentioned it when she talked to Bruce Pearl coming out of the half about the level of intensity and effort early in this game. It wasn't there for Auburn. It's much better here in the second half, and that was some good stunt work right there by Simeon Bowers because there wasn't a lot of contact.
He does his own stunts, is that what you say, right? Here's a hammer play, a little baseline pass to Harrell. And Harrell hits nothing but net. He's got 4 in the ball game. A quiet night for him, and dare I say, the lead down to 20 right now. This is as close as Auburn has been in a long time. Andrew Harrison out front. whistle, and that's going to be a foul against Auburn. Looks like they got Mason. Kentucky off to their best start ever. And Calipari going for his 100th win here at Rupp Arena. There's a look at their remaining schedule and the respective chances to win percentage-wise.
Well, and I look at those percentages, and I see at Georgia right now at 84%, but I think that Arkansas game here is going to be a more difficult test based on the fact of style of play, the athleticism of Michael Qualls and Bobby Portis, the way that they will attack the rim. They look at a 7-footer as an opportunity to get on SportsCenter.
Eddie Stein got ripped. Auburn with numbers, a 3-on-2. Mason lost the handle. Aaron Harrison not balancing for the ball.
But with that being said, you look at that remaining schedule. If Kentucky plays the way they're supposed to play, and they haven't played well, obviously, coming out of the break, but in that first 20 minutes, if they play with that kind of effort and that kind of focus, I don't see a team that's remaining on that schedule that's going to knock them off. I mean, this is... Georgia right now is really banged up. J.J. Frazier, the thing about Coach Fox, he's had 3 different players suffer a concussion during SEC play. Deontay Maton got hit by a car. Right? Then you had Marcus Thornton take a hard fall, and he missed a pair of games, and J.J. Frazier then gets a concussion. So they're a team that's kind of out of rhythm, and they played Kentucky well here in this building. But I don't think that right now they're playing their best basketball.
Foul shots, and Kentucky's lead back to 22.
That's part of the reason why when people start thinking about bubble watch and where teams are at, people go, what's going on with Georgia, why they slide?
Let's look and feed by Bowers inside to Harrell. Lenardi had, what was it? I think we counted 6 or 7 teams from the SEC right now.
And Georgia's one of those teams. Bruce Pearl right now, he's just happy. He's talking about competing for 20 minutes. This is about growth in his team and just how hard they want to fight here. Are they going to fold up 10 at halftime with the deficit that they had being doubled up, or are they going to come out and compete? They've answered the call at least early in this half.
That's going to be a foul against Casey Ross Miller on Towns. Well, Joe Lenardi and his bracketology in games, halftimes, and SportsCenter next week from here at ESPN. It's all part of Bracket Builder Week. And a look at the projected SEC seeds.
I'll tell you what, Texas A&M's got to improve from a 10 seed. And they've won their 10th game now in SEC play with their win earlier today. Of course, I get to see them on Tuesday night at Arkansas. Boy, that is going to be a great battle for second place in the SEC.
We love Caruso, the way he runs a team.
Yeah,
passer.
He's so efficient, and the ability to set the table for his teammates. Does a nice job defensively, creating steals and runouts. And then, of course, a couple transfers there, and House and Jones paying dividends at the offensive end of the floor.
Yeah, House, great three-point shooter.
Had 7 today.
Turnover. Here's Harrell. That's the 10th turnover of the game. And Towns fixes it. Harrison with the dunk. Talk about room service. Aaron Harrison at the other end of that. Ross Miller. What a terrible pass. Went behind his back and found Cauley Stein waiting for it.
I think a lot of that, too, of wanting to go behind the back there is too deep and was afraid to get a shot blocked.
Another Kentucky turnover, their 11th of the game. Here's Mason taking out his do-it-yourself kit. Why not?
That's the 5th turnover here in the second half for Kentucky, and it leads to points for Auburn.
I'll tell you what, the shuttle is open. The door is open for substitutions for Calipari. That's going to be a blocking foul on Ross Miller's block shot. Keys everything for Kentucky.
Well, it's defense leading to offense. An excellent job by Karl Anthony Towns. Willie Cauley-Stein gets his hands on it and immediately hits Aaron Harrison, who finishes at the other end of the floor. And that's a sequence that is a big-time positive overall for Kentucky. And we haven't had many of those sequences in the second half. I mean, the second half has been more dictated by Auburn's play.
It has nice two-man game. Towns and one.
Well, the energy and the life has to start to come back a little bit. And this is one of those plays that can give you the opportunity to get your swagger back at the offensive end of the floor. Karl Anthony Towns with the great on-ball screen and just too strong to finish as well.
16 minutes to go here in Lexington. Kentucky with a big lead, and during halftime, look at some of the festivities as Tony Delk The most outstanding player of the 96 Final Four had his number lifted to the rafters, and here's Kaylee standing by.
Thanks, Mark. Well, Tony, as of that 1996 national championship team, when you look at this team, it's a team people talk about as capable of doing something special. What would a matchup between this Kentucky team and yours look like?
2015 played 1996. I'm going with 1996. We had a lot of pros just like this team. We played a different kind of style of pressing, and this team is really good in the half court, but they're a team that could possibly cut the nets down in April.
You know what it takes to win a title. What winning traits do you see in this group?
Cohesiveness, where they play defense, they share the ball, and they enjoy the game of basketball, and they're well coached.
Now, Coach Calipari said he wishes he would have coached you, but instead he had to coach against you. How has the relationship between the two of you evolved?
We have a phenomenal relationship. And like I said, Coach Cal has done a great job of helping this program out and recruiting the right players. But what he does better than anyone is that he gets to the guys, they understand him, and he wants the best out of every player that's laced up here as well as wore that uniform.
Well, enjoy the feeling of looking at your uniform in the rafters here. Thanks, Tony.
All right, Kaylee, yeah, he was the MVP of that Final Four. They beat Syracuse in the championship game. Ron Mercer, Derek Anderson, Antoine Walker, all members of that team. You know, I think about how Antoine would fit in with all the threes that he ended up taking. You know, I remember somebody once asked him, how can you take so many threes? He said, because they don't have any fours.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tony's also done a great job of making that transition over from being a player, and not only here, but obviously in the NBA, and then being an assistant coach here, and now he's coming in the broadcasting ranks with the SEC Network, does a great job down in studio there. He'll be in Nashville, the SEC tournament.
Prolific scorer back in the day, Harrison from deep. There's Aaron Harrison off the mark.
I got a chance to work with Tony at SEC Media Days, and we had all the players out on the floor, and it was just so much fun working with him, and it's great to see him get honored here today.
Harrison from deep. Left it short.
That was because of the legs. When the legs got locked up a little bit, he didn't accelerate off his toes.
Nice feed inside. Granger off the pass from Canada. That's 4 for Granger. Marcus Lee up off the bench for Calipari. Ulis out top, running the point. A quiet night for Ulis. It's playing a little bit banged up at about 75%. Although he gave it every bit to make that layup.
I heard you talking about him, wanting to get involved. You know, but that play right there is just another example of being able to utilize your guard along the baseline, have your big with the ball, and know they're going to make the right play. The confidence that they will make the right read.
It's going to be a foul against Cauley Stein. His first personal foul. Well, it's 7 o'clock. Frank Kaminsky leads the Badgers on Tuesday against Melo Trimble and the Terps. Then at 9, head to the SEC. The Aggies taking on Bobby Portis in Arkansas. Wisconsin, Maryland at 7. Texas A&M, Arkansas at 9. All part of Bracket Builder Week presented by Dish.
Hey, you take a look. There's what the bracketology looks like for the Big Ten, and Wisconsin playing really well. And Frank Kaminsky now averaging 20 points per game over the last 3 games, shooting 59% from the floor. The Badgers have won 10 straight, and Maryland right there behind him. And that's going to be a great matchup between those two teams, because look at Melo Trimble, 26 of the team, 69 in their win against Nebraska on Thursday. They've got some time to prepare.
Saw him earlier this year, and man, he never has looked like a freshman. The entire season, he came in as a very precocious player. Here's Towns, also precocious. Missed it, got it back. Partially blocked, but that's going to be a goaltend against Trayvon Reed. I remember watching Karl Anthony Towns as Mason comes up limping. Karl Anthony Towns is a 16-year-old playing for the Dominican Republic national team out in Las Vegas, scrimmaging against USA Basketball when Calipari and his then assistant coach at Kentucky, Orlando Antigua, made up the coaching staff. And to talk about his improvement between then and now is really remarkable.
Well, I would just tell you from the start of practice this year to now. When I was here before Big Blue Madness, he was very quiet, rarely was talking at the defensive end of the floor, and Coach Calipari was getting on him. And then it came back about a month later. He was talking a little bit more. Well, he's wanted to turn a face and showcase his ability to hit the mid-range jump shot. And then Coach Cal said, you know what, you need to dominate from 5 feet in. Can you dominate from 5 feet in, and then you can start to move out. But that's where you've got to dominate the basketball game, as you see right there. Getting right into that spot. And now he's, you come to practice, he's vocal defensively. He's unselfish in his rotations. He's in the help side position. He's accepting all challenges that are thrown at him, and he's starting to assert himself and dominate down low.
Got 15 points in the ball game, and you look at those size 19 or 20 sneakers, and it's not tough to think that he's still growing too.
Well, and you put into the fact that he's also got 7 rebounds and 4 block shots. It just shows you kind of the complete game that he can bring.
Ulis with a pull-up. Towns underneath with the stick back.
You know, a couple weeks ago, you'd look at it and say, okay, Devin Booker had won 4 straight Freshman of the Week honors in the SEC, and you kind of had that feeling it was like old school Tiger Woods at the U.S. Open with a 15-shot lead, and you're sitting there and you're starting to engrave the trophy. But Karl Anthony Towns and the way he's played over the last 2 weeks in particular has just been outstanding. In fact, he was named Freshman of the Week this past week. I thought his week before was even better.
Yeah. Plans on playing for the Dominican national team this summer with the likes of Al Horford. Now with the Atlanta Hawks, who's a favorite player of his. Harrison drove and had it knocked out of bounds. It'll stay Kentucky basketball, and Towns looked like he was shaken up on that play. Took a shot to the face. This arena has fallen definitely silent after that.
He runs down the floor. He's going to take a little shot on the ribs.
He caught an elbow, but looked like.
And definitely some contact there with an elbow. But he is beneficent, as we mentioned, how hard he has worked in the course of this game and how he's been able to continue to grow and mature as the season has progressed.
Ulis out top.
Of course, Towns has scored the last 6 for the Kentucky Wildcats.
Posted up to Johnson. He kicks it back out. Ulis with the floater. And one! Tyler Ulis with a chance for the three-point play.
Dakari Johnson isn't going to get the credit he deserves on this, but it starts with his post-up and then passing the ball back out instead of trying to force up a poor shot off the block. That unselfishness led to the pass that became the assist on the drive.
They've assisted on a bunch of their field goals tonight. Ulis knocks down the free throw, an 82% foul shooter. He came up huge early this season in that win against Louisville. Bowers on the drive, and he draws the foul on Dakari Johnson. Simeon Bowers going around the world, and we'll go to the free throw line. For more on him, let's go to Kaylee.
Well, Mark, you may not see the numbers on the stat sheet that Simeon Bowers would like to see, but you will not see fear in this player's eyes, and the 9 bullet holes in his legs will tell you why. When he was 17, 2 armed gunmen attempted a robbery while he was in the passenger seat of a friend's car. One gunman opened his door and began shooting. The car was in an icy parking lot in Wisconsin. It took a moment for the wheels to gain traction. They eventually sped off, but not before 5 bullets punctured his legs. As Bowers told me, the experience made him stronger, physically and mentally.
Well, and the ability to just fight through that. And look, there's been some off-the-court issues that prohibited him from being able to go to Florida State University, but he has done an excellent job becoming a much better person and understanding also how he needed to play the game of basketball.
Yeah, he has done a lot of diligent, assiduous work with assistant coach Chuck Person on the mechanics of his shot, and has improved a lot since getting on campus at Auburn. This one, a foul going to go against Ulis. Timeout on the floor. When we come back, the studio has an update on Anthony Davis's injury tonight. To Chris Bosh, who the Miami Heat announced a little bit earlier today will be out for the season because of blood clots in his lungs. So, Chris, get well. And I know that in broadcasting we're supposed to be a little bit detached, but I can tell you Chris Bosh has a great heart.
Well, I want to ask you, too, about Kendrick Perkins going to the Cavs. Does he make an impact there? Do Do you like that move?
A little more paint presence, yeah, to help out Mozgov. 11.5 minutes to go here.
Of course, you'll be Clippers, Rockets. Good to see maybe potentially the MVP of the NBA, James Harden.
It's nice to see Arizona State retire his number this week.
Yeah. Fear the beard. Of course, that allowed Bill Walton and Dave Pasch to put on the beard and interview him, which always makes for good television.
Did they dye it? I didn't see.
No, they had they passed it out to the student section. It was one of those foam beards.
Okay.
Now that pass, by the way, was more directed towards you than it was anyone else on the floor.
That's the 10th turnover of the ball game.
You know, it's interesting too. You look at the numbers, and Auburn in the second half has got to feel really good about what they've done. 58% shooting in the second half. Even with those numbers, though, they trail by 3 in the second half. I mean, so you shoot 58%. You think like, hey, you know what? We're doing such a great job, and Kentucky's still pulling away, and now has their largest lead in the game.
Kari Johnson couldn't finish. Did on the second attempt, Sean. And Kari Johnson put together a pretty solid night. 10 points. Back up to.
And they're going to call that on the pass. So Simeon Bowers' shot there is not going to count.
Look at Bowers as he goes to the free throw line. He's got a funky looking rotation on the ball when he shoots it. It's not what you would classify or consider as a conventional looking shot when you look at the rotation on it. But believe it or not, Chuck Person has done a lot of work with him to make it a little bit more consistent.
Originally, the official on the baseline had said it was on the pass, and then they counted the basket and gave Bowers the 1 free throw. But you know, you talk about Bowers, and the length is bothering him. There's no question, but he has done a great job, even as an undersized power forward. Season high 17 rebounds 3 different times this season.
Leads the SEC in double-doubles as that was Aaron Harrison with the finger roll. 30-point lead for the Wildcats.
Well, I think
Burrell on the baseline missed the reverse, and Lee with the rebound.
Mark, doesn't this game kind of go back to the narrative that we were talking about earlier in this contest about Pauly?
Oh, that's Lee. Lee, it was Pauly Stein-esque on the follow. He covered some ground.
I had to hit the pause button in the story. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Are you kidding me? Please foul, do something, get the ball out of bounds. Perfect. Okay, rack it up and let's roll. Marcus Lee, Sports Center top 10.
Hashtag it.
Just filthy. You know, usually you get credit for dunking over players. He dunked over his own teammate. Yeah. That's awesome. That's saying something. If you can dunk on a Kentucky basketball player, that's saying something, even if you're on the same team. Oh, that was fun.
Got a poster on his own teammate.
I don't think they're putting that one in the media guide, though.
10 minutes to go.
Now media guides are electronic anyways.
Yeah. Mason, tell you what, he's putting up some digits tonight. Antoine Mason, 22 points.
Now his 4th game in the last 6 that he's broken that plateau. He's starting to really come into form as far as the player that he was a season ago. Now you're starting to see that right now.
Pauly Stein on the drive, draws the foul on the play, and careens hard to the court. He'll go to the free throw line for a pair. Well, Big Monday presented by Verizon at 7 as Louisville taking on Georgia Tech. Then at 9, head to the Big 12, number 8 Kansas versus Kansas State. It's all part of Bracket Builder Week presented by Dish. And what a win by Louisville today at home against Miami. They got off to a terrible start offensively. They had scored, I want to say, like 16 or 18 points at halftime. It wasn't a lot either way, but they got it going quickly in the first 5 minutes of the second half and turned the beat around to come back and win.
That started with the activity at the defensive end of the floor, deflections, and of course Chris Jones was suspended for that game that I had on Wednesday up at the Carrier Dome, and they didn't press, they didn't extend out, which is clearly not what they normally do. They executed enough down the stretch to eke that victory out, and a much-needed one.
That loss hurts Miami a little bit. They were a team that Joe Lunardi predicted was one of the first 4 out.
St. John's, by the way, is helping their cause. How about Steve Lapp getting the win over Seton Hall today? They've got Xavier and Georgetown next week, both at home. Good opportunity here for the Johnnies.
That's going to be a calming violation against Granger.
Interesting thing around the college basketball landscape. Teams that were playing well early that start to trail off at this time of year, or teams that had trouble early that are starting to play better. And I think I look at Texas, and they're a little bit of a head-scratcher right now. They've dropped 6 out of their last 9 games. With their size and length, they should be much better. And I know they're playing in the Big 12, and Iowa State's a great team. But Holmes and Ridley combined for just 4 points today. That can't happen.
I saw that. Whistling a foul against the Wildcats. That foul goes against, against Granger, his 3rd since the Wildcats to the line. And Andrew Harrison, a 79% free throw shooter. You know, you look at this Kentucky team, despite that miss, overall a pretty good free throw shooting squad. When you look at the Harrison twins, both at around 79%. And Karl Anthony Towns at 78%. Out of the starting 5, only Cauley Stein shoots less than 65. Well, pretty impressive numbers.
Those numbers help you in particular when it comes into those possession type games. And Coach Calipari from the start of the season has talked about as they make their run, and not the run right now, but the run through to the potential national championship. Just stop it. Never mind. I'm done telling stories. I'm done telling stories. Every time I start to tell a story, somebody gets a dunk.
Lyles.
It's disappointing. A good story there.
You might get another chance after this dunk. Here's Booker. Oh, Devin Booker.
You know, we talk on college basketball, scoring being down, what rule changes you want to have. Celebrate the game and enjoy what you see. And boy, is it fun watching guys compete like Kentucky has each and every night.
That's something that Calipari regularly talks to his team about, is finding the fun. You know, these players are on campus, and everything they do on campus is within, less than a half a mile away when it comes to basketball anyway, in terms of treatment, practice facility, lifting, everything else. And, you know, it gets to be a little bit of a grind at times, but he challenges them to find the fun in playing when they go out and on the court every time, and Kaylee has more.
Well, Mark, when they've got, 12 steps or so to get from the dorms over to their practice facility, over the past 2 days, there haven't been classes at Kentucky, given this weather that we've all seen here. So...
What weather?
For a guy from Miami, a girl who lives in Texas, and a guy in LA, yeah, we're all strangers to this weather. But Cal advised his guys to catch up on rest, catch up on their treatment. But as Dakari Johnson told me, there was nothing else to do but practice. They didn't want to be out in that weather.
Willie Cauley-Stein, Kaylee, melting some of that snow outside with some heat.
He's certainly not soft. You can criticize him, but he's finishing hard at the rim.
Lead by a score of 86-58 with 7:41 to go. Mark Jones courtside along with Sean Farnham. And time for our fast analysis, brought to you by AT&T.
And no need to talk fast, because you see the way they're rotating over. It's great. Throw the ball ahead. The easy runouts. They've got 6 block shots in the game. They've been able to get out in transition and score. They have dominated in the paint tonight. Up plus 30 inside the paint. 54 total points in the paint. And once again, you see them get out. When they get out, it's Yahtzee up in the rim, playing board games all afternoon long.
When you bring it in there against Kentucky, you got to be coming over the top. You got to be trying to dunk that basketball, Sean, because otherwise they'll be pinning that thing up on the glass.
Well, you know, when I was at UCLA, Magic Johnson came and spoke to us before our 1997 tournament run. And we went against Kelvin Cato at Iowa State, who was a great shot blocker at the collegiate level. And Magic Johnson told our guards, look, when you go against the shot blocker, here's what you do. You put your knee in their chest, and they'll never block your shot. And so as you jump up, your knee's out in front, put it right in, their body's going to go backwards, you're going to be able to finish up over the top. What shot blockers ideally want, and you see it all the time, at the collegiate level and at the NBA level, Mark, when you give space, when you try to fade away, when you draw back just ever so slightly and you don't initiate contact with a shot blocker, you're feeding the shot blocker because they're going to erase it.
Yeah. Cauley-Stein averaging 1.5 blocks per game, and Karl Anthony Towns averaging 2.2 blocks per game. And a moment ago, getting up like a boss here.
Just up over the top, a little push from behind. You know, you talk about Conference Player of the Year. And to me,
got a lot of candidates on this team. Who is it?
The man at the free throw line is the Conference Player of the Year. And I'll tell you why. Because it's not just his efficiency. It's not just about his more aggressive play as of late. It's his ability to defend and the versatility that he brings, that he's on the top scorer who happens to be a guard on the other team right now. You know, I mean, he can guard any position. I had a coach that played Kentucky earlier this year said you cannot set an on-ball screen with Willie Cauley-Stein defending the screen because it negates the advantage of setting such screen. And that's the impact that he has on the game. He makes other teams change their approach, change the way they try to attack you.
Well, usually you hear coaches, Sean, we've been around a ton of them, they try and put bigs into pick and rolls to gain an advantage. But with him, it's like you said, pretty much impossible.
Well, when I asked him, I said, when you're defending a guard like KT Harrell, what comes through your mind? What are you thinking in that matchup? And he told me earlier today, he said, you know what, Sean, I want to stay in front of him. I want to gap him up. I can use my length and still close out and disrupt the shot. But the biggest thing that gives me confidence is knowing that I have my teammates behind me. And then if I give up a lane, if I give up an angle, somebody's going to be over to the help side and rotate over. That's what has made Kentucky's defense so elite this year. That trust and the belief that their teammates got their back if they make a mistake.
There's Towns with that face-up jump shot, knocks it down. Big-time move by Karl-Anthony Towns. Miller inside, Bowers fouled on the play.
I think Miller should have shot that ball. But again, you're anticipating the shot blocker, and so then you throw it back to Bowers, and now you send him to the free throw line. I think the higher percentage shot actually was the layup attempt.
Simeon Bowers going to the foul line, just a 50% foul shooter. Had 14 points and 7 rebounds in their recent loss against Alabama. Leads the conference in double-doubles.
Well, and this is all part of a process. You look at Bruce Pearl and what he inherited and what he's trying to do with his team. You took over a program that over the last 5 years, only one other program in the power conferences, those Power 5 conferences that we talk about, had a worse RPI. That was TCU. Obviously, TCU got off to a great start this season with Trent Johnson. But Bruce Pearl is really trying to build a culture and a program, and it starts with just an effort and a work level that they're trying to increase.
Great hire by athletic director at Auburn, Jay Jacobs. Here's Harrell knocking down the 3-ball right over Booker. With 7 minutes to go.
And the fan base is starting to rally down at Auburn, and it's much needed for the SEC. You know, you want all the teams. This has been a great season overall for the SEC. The depth is much better at the bottom portion of the league.
And Ulis going to get a chance to complete the 3-point play. He's got 10. Nice little hesitation move here by Ulis.
They drive, see the lane, hand got up a little bit. Casey Ross Miller stopped. When you stop on the play, defense a little slow rotating over, and Ulis able to finish. Kentucky, by the way, now shooting 63% from the field on the game.
We talk about chemistry on this team. Ulis and Booker have actually known each other since elementary school. Played a bunch of AAU basketball together. And Ulis comes up with a pin. Oh, great time to stop!
Stop it! Stop it, Mark Jones! Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I don't even care about the dunk. I just love the pass. That's the unselfishness we're talking about with this Kentucky team.
Tyler Ulis with a blind behind the back pass. And the 3-ball has temporarily quiet the crowd. Towns kicks it back out to Ulis for 3. Lyles fighting for the rebound out of bounds. It'll be Auburn basketball. Maybe another nominee for Sports Center Top 10.
The no vision look, a little two-handed windmill from Willie Cauley-Stein. Oh, it's about the pass, though. The unselfishness of Kentucky. Look at the no look, the feel and the trust of where he was. Beautiful.
5.5 to go.
It's fun.
Ross Miller with the baseline, Jay, no good. Johnson with the outlet to Ulis.
You see those type of plays, and you see guys getting rhythm and flow. It's just fun to watch. I had Stephon Moody the other night for Ole Miss. He got going, had 3 consecutive threes, and Ole Miss picked up a good road win.
Not that last Ulis turnover. He's going to come out of the ball game on the next whistle. Cauley-Stein showing his face-up game.
Well, Willie Cauley-Stein now has 9. If he gets one more point, you'll have 7 players in double figures for Kentucky, and they're just 3 points away from breaking the century mark.
4:50 to go. I think they're a good bet to do it. Ulis, Booker, and Cauley-Stein going to get a breather. And a raucous, appreciative crowd here at Rupp lets them hear it. Can I say something about the crowd here?
You can.
I mean, they're winning by 33, and there is, I would guess, 99.9% of the people are still here.
They love their program. And the tradition and the pride that they take.
I'd be heating up my car, okay? I'd be heating up the car.
You're
right
from
now,
Miami,
son.
and it's slushing outside, so I get that. I get that. But no, this is a passionate fan base, and it's a tough ticket to get. That's well documented. I mean, they're willed down through family lineage, and it makes it a special game. And coming to Kentucky is a different kind of venue. There was a young man I actually met that's an Auburn fan. He was about 10 years old, and he's in the elevator with his folks today, and he comes around the corner at the hotel, and he's got the Auburn hat on. I said, "You from around here? Where'd you come?" He said, "No." "Do you know somebody on the team?" "No. I'm just excited about what Bruce Pearl's doing." And I told my parents I really wanted to go watch a game at Kentucky. I wanted to go see Kentucky play, and I wanted to see it at Rupp, so my parents bought me a ticket. His name's Matthew Morris. And a fun young guy. He also told me to tell Bruce Pearl he's a pretty good basketball player.
Hope he's not too upset about the result here today. There's Harrell out top, 17 on the shot clock.
But that's what Rupp does. It's a place to go watch and celebrate the game of college basketball.
Think about some of the greats that have been part of this program. Mason draws the foul on Dakari Johnson. 4:11 to go.
And Mason, again, we touched on it early. He has been a bright spot all game long, really. Slow start for the team, but once they started going that final 9-17 that Kaylee was talking about coming out of the break, where they equaled Kentucky at 22 apiece for the remainder of that first half. Yeah. A large part of that was because of Antoine Mason.
Yeah, a guy that went through a lot last week, wasn't sure whether he was going to make it back for a couple of their games, whether he was going to stay by his father's bedside. Anthony Mason, who was in very critical condition at the time, and really inspired by his dad's strength right now, being able to hang on and his health improving. And once again, want to send out our thoughts and prayers to Big Mace up there in New York. Antoine from Queens, New York. When you play ball at O'Connell Park in New York, you got to be able to bring some game. There's no punks that get on the court there.
I feel like you're holding
there.
back.
I know, I've been there. Under 4 minutes to go. Here's Harrison. Nice in and out move. Lyles on the drive. Maybe overpassed it a little bit too much.
Well, that might be an overpass. This one here, though, just a phenomenal pass by Tyler Ulis. Watching the vision, feels the defense, back to it. Yep, just a little flip. I know the big fella's there, and then he knows what to do with it. When the ball's in his hands. Kentucky's rolling, folks.
Yeah, should be a great matchup. Sandman Johnson. And folks, we're going to go back in the way back machine, back to 2008. Tennessee against Memphis. Calipari against Pearl. Calipari attended a pep rally before the game. Pearl did, firing his team up, going into Memphis. And Tyler Smith hit a turnaround jumper in the lane with 28 seconds left. And number 2 Tennessee right there knocked off the nation's last unbeaten team, edging top-ranked Memphis 66-62. But there will be no miracles tonight.
We were talking about that game, you and I, beforehand, and the comparison is fun. It's 26-0, but that Tennessee team was number 2 in the country.
Yeah.
This Auburn team is far from that right now, but it's in the building process of where Coach Pearl is wanting to get the direction of this team going.
There's Mason from outside. He knocks down another 3. Boy, what a game he's having. And
I'd like to have another year of him.
Yeah. After that UCLA and Arizona game tonight. Folks, make sure you get on Twitter and follow the Twitter beef between my partner Sean Farnham and Miles Simon. All right? It could get ugly tonight.
What are you trying to insinuate?
Because there's no beef like Twitter beef.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the score. I thought you were talking about the score of the game. I was like, already? You know what? It's going to be tough, though, because Arizona is one of those teams. It's all about nationally. You talk about Final Four potential teams. Obviously, Kentucky, in their pursuit of perfection, #1 in the country. Virginia doing a nice job kind of weathering the storm without Justin Anderson. They need to get him back and get him making shots. Wisconsin, Jahlil Okafor out today for Duke. It didn't cause them any issues, but you want them to be healthy going forward. There's a handful of teams. Arizona's one of those, and of course, so is Gonzaga. And both those teams coming up later on tonight. A lot of people in the East Coast, they don't stay up to watch West Coast hoop. Two really good basketball teams playing later on tonight.
Canada inside off glass draws the foul on Johnson. And Kentucky setting all kinds of historical marks this season. Their first 100-point game versus a conference opponent since 2010.
Not the highest scoring game yet, though. They're 1 point shy this year in the SEC. Arkansas got to 101. Now there's 3 minutes and 4 seconds left to go. And we'll see if they can get that 1 point. I think the odds are pretty good.
Yeah.
Now, who did that 101 come against? The Auburn Tigers. The Auburn Tigers started with the defensive end of the floor, and that was a big concern for Coach Pearl coming in. Field goal percentage-wise, they allow opponents to shoot 46%. It's been a wee bit higher today. Now closing in on 64% for Kentucky.
Takari Johnson inside with a nice quick move.
And now this is the highest scoring game by an SEC team this season.
Canada on the drive. Nice scoop shot. Martin inside. Pardon me, Reed inside with the miss.
They would take Jarrell Martin and his 28 points and 13 rebounds today if they could, though.
Trayvon Reed, a big fellow who joined the team late this year. Took care of some academic issues and joined the team in December.
Well, he's got to get
still
stronger.
coming along.
Yeah, he's got to get stronger. In fact, Coach Bruce Pearl told us earlier today he doesn't let him practice unless he weighs 230 pounds.
Because step on the scale.
He says, I don't care if you eat a bag of dirt before you come on the court. You got to weigh 230 to practice.
Now, not recommended for those of you thinking about it out there that you actually eat a bag of dirt. But he was trying to make a point. And that Reed, if he wants to get some consistent minutes and become a bigger part of the rotation for Auburn, that get some calories in him, some good ones.
Well, and ideally they want to see him get to 255, 265 range. So that means you're putting on still 20 plus more pounds before they feel like he's going to be able to maintain position and become a factor deep in the paint. Nice game and a nice hand for Takari Johnson and Trey Lyles. And Aaron Harrison, who are all checking out of the game. Aaron already walked off the court and the sub's not in action yet. But now he gets to sit down.
There's Florial coming to the ball game. Son of the track coach here at Kentucky, number 24. Former Olympic high jumper.
And you think about this game. You've got 6 guys in double figures. Willie Cauley-Stein isn't one of them.
We almost missed one in the middle of one of your great stories again.
No. We almost had another great dunk. That's all I need to do to get
okay, don't start one yet. Harrison with the slide.
But what I'm trying to point out, though, with the 9 points for Willie Cauley-Stein, is that this is a team that's so deep that the guy that I really feel is the conference player of the year, he's not even in double figures tonight, yet how large of an impact did Willie Cauley-Stein have on this game?
And Calipari going to empty out the bench. Cauley-Stein and Booker, the Harrison twins, Johnson, Lyles, all getting a breather. Lee going to the bench as well.
Well, that February 28th game versus Arkansas, that's going to be a great battle just based on the athleticism and the mindset and the fastest 40 minutes that Arkansas is going to try.
Arkansas got them a couple times last year.
No question. The game at Georgia, I think, is another potential stumbling block, but they've got to get a lot healthier before now and then.
What do you make of the notion that, and it's a crazy notion, but sometimes we believe in odd things and unconventional things. What about the notion of them being better off losing going into the tournament? Buy it or not?
I don't. Okay, come on. Come off the bench. Do you know how hard that is to sit for like 2 hours, not take a shot, and then just walk in and drain a 3?
There's Thompson. 1 minute to go.
Well, look, getting back to your question of is it better to lose one before the tournament, all this other stuff. I don't think you ever try to go out in the mindset and say, okay, hey, we want to lose one here.
Right.
Would it be the worst thing in the world? No, because I think it just gives another opportunity to kind of say, okay, guys, you know, we got another area we got to push. We got to improve here. We got to improve there. Coach Calipari is always talking about individual improvement for his team.
There's Florial, one of the top basketball players in the state of California a couple of years ago. Talked about his dad being the track coach here at Kentucky. Great lineage athletically for him. 30 seconds to go. It's all smiles here at Rupp Arena.
They got
top to bottom.
They got to the third platoon tonight. You know what? This is a great moment for all these players who work hard every day at practice, to do whatever the team needs to kind of help them. But Kentucky impressive across the board tonight. They dominated tonight.
Going to improve to 27-0, and Coach Cal will ring up victory number 100 here at Rupp Arena. Kentucky wins it 110-75. Willie Cauley-Stein making another indelible imprint on the night with his running, passing, and dunking. Coming up next, UCLA taking on Arizona. For Sean Farnham, I'm Mark Jones saying so long from Lexington.